Yo, what's going on, Dragon Ballers? Welcome back to another video. Today we're getting back to set 17 reveals, talking about the yellow Piccolo archetype in Ultimate Squad. Looks like Namekian players will finally have a reason to be happy if this all goes well. We'll talk about that in the video. If you're new here, make sure to subscribe, hit that bell so you never miss a video. And if you guys want to help support the channel, many ways down in the description to do so. But today, guys, if you actually want to check out the Patreon, you can read the articles there, step your game up, maybe inquire about coaching. I also posted a TOA deck list for set 17 that I actually think is pretty competitive, especially if certain ban list changes go the way we think they will. But anyways, let's get into this. All right, we got the leader to start off with. Piccolo, auto, place one Namekian from your hand under this card. When this card attacks, draw one, then look it up to 5 cards on top of your deck, add up to 1 green or yellow Namekian among them to your hand and shuffle your deck. All right, I mean, that effect is really good, but I just hate how convoluted it is. Like, take a card, place it under, draw one, then search top 5. Definitely super unique, but like, it's just really convoluted, but it's really good. Anyways, awaken your lights 4 or less, or there are 2 or more cards under this card. You may draw 1 card, switch with one of your energy to active mode, add cards from Light's hand until you have 5 left, and flip this card over. Okay, so just from reading the unawakened side of the leader, I mean, we're playing yellow, right? Typically, the best yellow decks have been the amalgamation of just the best yellow cards in the game, and that was more so true with Icarus and Mecha Frieza, stuff like that. But sometimes with these decks, you got to play like enough of their own engine to get the best value out of it. Trunks is a good example of that right now. You're still playing a lot of the best yellow cards in the game, but you're also fully dedicated to most of that Trunks Vegeta engine. This deck revolves around yellow Namekians. You got to play Namekians to fuel your leader and fuel your awaken, but there are some really good yellow Namekians that we'll talk about both in this set and, you know, older support that we'll get to. But anyways, for the awaken side, permanent. When placing battle cards under other cards to pay skill costs for your Namekian unit absorb skills, you can use cards from under this card instead. Auto, place 1 Namekian card from your hand on this card. Once card attacks, draw 2, so you're still filtering like crazy. Activate battle. Once returned, place 1 card from under this card in the owner's drop area. This card gets plus 5,000 power for the battle. So it's your choice. You can awaken if you have 2 or more cards under it, but if you wait till, like, you know, you have 3 or 4 cards under it, then you'll get more essentially free combos once per turn over the course of a few turns. So that's pretty cool. Then we have the Unison for the deck. So Dende, Guardian's Destiny, 1 drop 1k, rejuvenate once per turn, remove 5 markers from this card. Don't forget you have to have a card under this to activate rejuvenate. Auto once per turn when one of your Namekian cards activates Unit Absorb. Place top card of your deck under this card, then choose one of your opponent's battle cards and switch to rest mode, and then plus 1 activate main. Play up to 1 yellow Piccolo card with energy cost of 1 from your hand. 1 drop 1k that only gains 1 marker per turn. I'm not really feeling it. You probably don't need this card to play the most competitive version of this deck, but I mean, it will help you get Piccolos in play for free, which is kind of cool, I guess. All right, now we have some green Namekians. So we have Piccolo fusing further. 1 drop, unit absorb once per turn, pay 2. If the other card's a Namekian card, you have 3 or more energy, and you choose 1 Namekian in your hand or battle area and place it under this card, which again, don't forget the leader's permanent to use materials from under him. Play up to 1 green Piccolo, energy cost of 4 on top of this card from your deck, then shuffle your deck. When this card's played, draw 1. There's another 1 drop that's basically an archetype searcher. Add up to 1 green or yellow Namekian with energy cost of 4 or less among them to your hand, then shuffle your deck. Oddly enough, it doesn't search the Unison, but whatever. And the Unit Absorb for 1 does a very similar thing. Play up to 1 yellow Piccolo card with energy cost of 3 from your deck or hand on top of this card, then shuffle your deck if you look through it. So you got to keep in mind which of the different 1-drops summon which of the different Piccolos. Depending on how you want to build the deck, that's going to be very important. It all really depends on what you're trying to do with it. I mean, yeah, for the Unit Absorb stuff, this is all good. 3 energy on the 1 drops to the left is a little bit much when some other decks like Unit Absorb into things for like 1 or 0 energy, but I mean, again, for the cards you're playing that we'll talk about later, it is not bad. Now we have some yellow 1 drops. Piccolo ready to fuse. 1 drop when this card's played, look at top 5, add up to 1 yellow Namekian, and then you have Unit Absorb for 1. If your other card is a Namekian card, you choose 1 Namekian in your hand or battle area and place it under this card. Play up to 1 yellow Piccolo card with energy cost of 3 from your deck and play on top of this card. Then shuffle your deck if you look through it. And then we have Fusions Resolve. We have when this card's played, draw 1, and then Unit Absorb for 2. If your leader card is a Namekian card, you have 3 or more energy, and you choose 1 Namekian in your hand or battle area and place it under this card. Play up to 1 green Piccolo with energy cost of 4 from your deck or hand on top of this card, then shuffle your deck if you look through it. So this is the one that I'm most excited about, and I'll talk about why in a little bit. But yeah, notice this one plays green Piccolos. So you're playing probably a mono yellow deck. I mean, you could play green yellow in some capacity, but let's say you're playing a mono yellow deck. You're playing a few different green Piccolos to evolve or Unit Absorb on top of this guy. Pretty cool stuff you can do. We'll talk about later. Then we have some bigger Piccolos that are coming out in the set. So we have Piccolo with Nail's Might. 3 drop 20k, evolve for 2 over a Piccolo or a Nail. When this card's played or attacks, choose one of your opponent's battle cards in rest mode and KO it. Auto if it's your opponent's turn. When this card's using a combo from your hand, choose one Namekian in your battle area and switch it to active mode. Okay, get it in archetype Zarbon. When it's played, KO something, not the worst. Piccolo fusing with Kami, 4-drop 20k critical, evolve for 3 over a Piccolo or Kami. Activate battle once per turn. Choose one of your opponent's battle cards with energy cost of 4 or less, ignoring barrier, and KO it. Definitely not bad. Ignoring barrier removal for 4 or less is very relevant right now, especially like the Trunks Vegeta matchup, removing their blocker. That's pretty good. Piccolo fusing with Nail, 3-drop 15k critical. Now we're looking at some actual green-yellow cards. Permanent once per turn. If this card would be KO'd in battle, you may place one card from under this card in the owner's drop area instead. You're not really attacking many cards by battle nowadays. Every deck in this format pretty much has removal, so that's probably not the most relevant. Activate battle once per turn, switch card to rest mode. Choose up to one of your opponent's battle cards with a cost of 5 or less in rest mode and KO it. If you KO'd a card, your opponent discards one card from their hand. So the activate battle is kind of cool. KO something during either player's turn. If you KO'd something, they pitch a card, but you know, you got to switch this to rest mode. So do you attack with critical? I mean, yes, there are a few cards that will restand your Namekians, but I mean, with this card not having the best protection, it seems like you could build a deck around this to, again, swing for critical, use an effect to restand it, activate battle, do all those things. But with no protection, I mean, that's just not going to be a super competitively viable strategy, in my opinion. Piccolo fused with Kami, critical double strike, evolve for 3 over a Piccolo or Kami. Permanent, if this card has one or more cards under it and would be removed from your battle area by an opponent's skill, you may place all the cards under this card in your owner's drop area instead. That's not bad. Protection from skills is great. It's a one-time protection, but it's still better than nothing. Auto when this card's played, choose up to 2 of your opponent's battle cards in rest mode, ignoring barrier, and KO them. This card is not bad. Just outside the fact that it is a multicolor card with 10k combo, that's a little rough, but still, I mean, I think this is the best Piccolo out of this particular bunch. Although I do like fusing with Kami, but again, no protection makes that pretty tough to pull off. Alright, now we have some old school Piccolos that are playable with the 1-drops that we saw earlier. Piccolo Assimilated Ability is one that a lot of people are already talking about. This card seems absolutely insane, especially because there's some other barrier battle cards you can play that we'll see later. But yeah, this card seems like it'll be a staple in this deck, playing off that 1-drop yellow Piccolo. There's also Kami's Power Piccolo, which is pretty cool. Doesn't quite give you the rolling advantage that Assimilated Ability gives you, giving you the draw every single turn, but Kami's Power Piccolo is a barrier threat that has double strike, and it's picking off a battle card every single turn. Doesn't have the energy restriction that Assimilated Ability does, so that's pretty cool. Then there's also Piccolo fused with Nail, which I think was recently bought out. Don't know if that was really necessary, because this card might be the worst of the older Piccolos, but it's still very playable in the deck. So what it says is double strike, activate main, once per turn choose one. This card gets plus 3,000 power for the duration of the turn for each Namekian under it, so it can get pretty big. If there are 3 or more Namekians under this card gains barrier until the end of your opponent's next turn. Then choose one of your opponent's energy and switch it to rest mode. That card can't be switched to active mode until the end of your opponent's next turn. So maybe you can tech this in some sort of way to tap your opponent's energy. I mean, with Bergamo going to 1, that has been not a very easy ability to come by now in yellow, at least for a relatively cheap cost. So maybe there's something here, but I do think, you know, Assimilated Ability is probably the best one. I do also like the option of Kami's Power Piccolo, but yeah, these are some of the older Namekians you can play in this deck for sure. Then we have some more actual archetype support from set 17. Weight on one's shoulders, 0-drop extra card. Activate battle if it's your opponent's turn. Choose one Namekian in your battle area, switch to active mode, and it gets plus 1,000 power for the battle, which is in most cases going to be a 5k combo practically. But yeah, I don't know why there's 2 different effects that basically act as Zarbon. That's a little weird. But anyways, activate battle. If it's your turn, choose one of your Namekian cards. For each Namekian card under it, it gets plus 5,000 power up to a maximum of 15 and double strike. So this can technically be a stronger Champa, but I mean, if you're using those resources under your Namekians for certain things leading up to this, it's going to be weaker than Champa. So I mean, maybe you just play Champa, but I guess it really depends on how the deck actually ends up playing out. Then we have Kami, Guardian of Earth, 1-drop auto. When this card's played, draw a card. Permanent list cards under a yellow Piccolo in your battle area. This card gets plus 1,000 power. Would have been cool if it worked under your leader as well, but it would have probably only had been during one of the player's turns, either your turn or your opponent's turn. But yeah, I don't know if you're playing this just for that, but maybe you are. Nail the Protector. We have all his cards under a yellow Piccolo in your battle area, gains 1,000 power. Auto when this card's played, look at top 5, add a yellow Namekian with energy cost of 4 or less, or 1 yellow Unison with a specified cost of 1 among them to your hand, then shuffle your deck. So yeah, I mean, weight on one's shoulders has potential to be cool, but again, it could just be a weaker Champa in some scenarios, so maybe you play Champa just to be safer. And these 2 1-drops are okay, but cards like this often don't usually end up seeing play in the more competitive builds, at least from my experience. And then finally, the engine you guys have probably all been waiting for if you've been looking at this deck already. The Slug engine is practically a perfect fit for this deck. I mean, it's yellow Namekians, it's more barrier battle cards, you got Bond with this as well as assimilated ability. If you stick this and assimilated ability on board next to each other, I mean, that just seems absolutely insane. And this is really interesting because this is a really big pro to playing this deck, but then you look at Trunks Jita, which is probably not getting hit on the set 17 ban list, and that deck has its own slew of reasons why you want to play that, right? Like, they've got the barrier blocker that essentially applies summoning sickness to the first card your opponent plays every turn. You've got great removal in that deck, maybe a little bit better than in this deck, because in that deck you have actual easy barrier removal if the card's in rest mode. So, I mean, yeah, I think there's pros and cons to playing both. It's going to be pretty cool to see if there's like 2 yellow decks in the format that don't necessarily outright power creep each other, if there's like reasons to play one or the other. I think it's gonna be very, very cool. But so far, Piccolo looks great. I don't think you're gonna lean too heavily into the actual archetype stuff, but you'll play just enough of it to make sure you can draw with your leader and play probably Piccolo assimilated ability. But anyways, guys, let me know in the comments below what you think about this. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Yo, Dragon Ballers, really appreciate you guys watching the video. Thank you guys so much. If you liked the video, definitely consider dropping a like, as it really does help me out a lot. And if you guys want to consider watching the next video,
Joey,
it should be what's
Joey.
up? What's up?
How about OG Toa?
OG Toa from the anniversary box?
Yeah, is it any good?
Ivan, I think you're like 2 years late, bro.
Oh man, I guess I'll go back to Yu-Gi-Oh.
Oh no.